In the spring of 2009, at the lowest point of the worst financial crisis in 80 years, researchers at the Federal Reserve ran a study on household financial behavior. They wanted to understand what ordinary Americans were actually doing with their money while the economy was collapsing around them. They expected to find overspending, panic purchases, debt accumulation, people making obviously terrible decisions driven by fear and uncertainty. What they actually found was the opposite. And it was, in a completely different way, just as destructive. Americans had stopped spending. Not just on luxuries. Not just on the obvious non-essentials. On everything. Dentist appointments were being canceled and rescheduled indefinitely. Car maintenance was being deferred. Home repairs that had been on the to-do list for months were being pushed back further. Small business owners were not replacing broken equipment. Professionals were not enrolling in the courses or certifications that would keep their skills current. Parents were not signing their children up for the after-school activities and programs they could still, technically, afford. The freeze was not irrational. It came from a completely understandable place. When the future feels genuinely dangerous, when you don't know if your job is safe, when you don't know if the market is going to fall further, when you don't know what next month looks like, the brain sends one very clear signal. Stop. Don't move. Don't commit. Don't spend anything you don't absolutely have to spend right now, because you might need every dollar you have later. And on the surface, this sounds not just sensible but wise. Build the buffer, reduce outflows, protect the cash, be conservative. These are the things people say to each other during downturns and feel good about saying. But here is the problem. And this is the thing that the Federal Reserve research showed and that behavioral economists have documented through every recession since, and that almost nobody talks about when the conversation turns to smart money management during downturns. The freeze doesn't discriminate. It doesn't selectively stop the genuinely unnecessary spending. The restaurant meals that happen by default, the subscription services you forgot you had, the habitual upgrades and impulse purchases and lifestyle inflation that accumulated during the good years. It stops all of that, yes, but it also stops everything else. The spending that was building skills, the spending that was maintaining assets, the spending that was investing in future earning power and future options and future resilience. The brain under sustained economic stress does not distinguish between spending that compounds and spending that disappears. It just sees outflows. And it tries to stop all of them. And the result, for millions of Americans who went through 2008 and 2009 and 2010 in full financial freeze mode, was not the protection they thought they were building. They emerged from that recession not just with less money. That was almost inevitable given what happened to the economy. They emerged professionally weaker because they had stopped investing in their skills during the exact period when the people who came out ahead were quietly getting better. They emerged physically worse off because deferred medical and dental care has a compounding cost that catches up eventually and usually at a worse moment and at a higher price. They emerged sitting in houses that had deteriorated because maintenance deferred is not maintenance avoided. It is maintenance that costs 3 times as much when it finally can't be ignored anymore. The freeze protected the cash balance. It costs significantly more in every other dimension of life that money is supposed to protect. This is the money mistake that almost everyone makes when the economy gets scary. Not panic selling, though that happens too. Not spending recklessly, though some people do that. The single most common, most destructive, least discussed financial error during an economic downturn is the indiscriminate freeze. Treating every single outflow as equally dangerous. Cutting everything. Because cutting everything feels like the safest possible response to uncertainty. And right now, in April 2026, with recession probability sitting between 30 and 50%, depending on which economist you ask, with oil above $100 a barrel, with consumer confidence at its lowest in 3 consecutive quarters, with the Strait of Hormuz crisis still unresolved and its effects still working through supply chains, the freeze is already beginning. You can see it in the data. Consumer spending is slowing. People are pulling back. The caution is spreading across every income level, every demographic, every region. Some of that caution is completely correct and appropriate. Some spending absolutely should come down. The cash buffer absolutely should go up. These are rational responses to genuine uncertainty. But if the freeze goes too wide, and historically it almost always does, then the people who survive the next 12 months, without a layoff, without a major emergency, without a catastrophic financial event, will still emerge from this period in a meaningfully weaker position than the one they were already in. Not because of what happened to them, because of what they stopped doing. So let me explain why the brain does this, because understanding the mechanism is the first step to overriding it. When humans experience uncertainty, not a single scary event, but sustained, ongoing uncertainty about the future that lasts for weeks and months, the brain activates what psychologists describe as heightened loss aversion. Under normal baseline conditions, humans are already wired asymmetrically. We feel losses roughly twice as intensely as we feel equivalent gains. If I gave you $100 right now, you'd feel pretty good. If I took $100 from your wallet right now, you'd feel significantly worse. And the research consistently shows the negative feeling is about twice as strong as the positive one would have been. This asymmetry is built into human psychology for evolutionary reasons that made complete sense for most of human history. The cost of losing resources in a world of genuine uncertainty is often permanent. The benefit of gaining resources when you already have enough is marginal. The brain learned to protect what it has far more aggressively than it pursues what it could gain. But here is where the modern recession environment creates a specific and deeply damaging problem. The sustained, low-level, ongoing threat of economic uncertainty doesn't just activate normal loss aversion, it dramatically amplifies it. When the threat feels continuous rather than discrete, when it's not one bad event but a cloud of uncertainty that doesn't lift, the brain's threat detection system starts working overtime. Every potential outflow starts to feel not just like a risk, but like a guaranteed loss. Every financial commitment starts to feel like a potential trap. The threshold for spending anything drops dramatically. And because this is happening at the neurological level, not at the rational, conscious, decision-making level, the brain doesn't bother distinguishing between categories of spending. It just sees the number going down and sends the signal to stop. The dentist appointment and the Netflix subscription feel identical from the brain's threat response perspective. They are both outflows, and outflows in a period of sustained threat feel dangerous. The result is that people make decisions that feel conservative and responsible, but are actually quite costly over any medium or long-term time frame. They defer the dentist appointment that would have cost $400. 18 months later, the tooth that needed a filling needs a root canal and a crown. The $400 appointment turned into a $4,000 procedure. The freeze cost them $3,600. Not through any dramatic failure or bad luck, but through the invisible compounding cost of deferred maintenance. Multiply this logic across every dimension of life: the car, the house, the body, the professional skills, the personal development, and the aggregate cost of the indiscriminate freeze over a 12 to 24-month recession period is often far larger than the cash balance it was protecting. Now, the antidote to the indiscriminate freeze is not spending freely and pretending the downturn isn't real. The economy is under genuine stress. The caution is warranted. The question is how to be appropriately cautious without being indiscriminately so. And the answer is a framework. A simple, deliberate, written framework that categorizes every spending decision into one of three buckets. Because the brain under stress will not make these distinctions automatically. It needs a system to override the freeze instinct with rational analysis. Here is the framework. The first category is genuinely cuttable spending. This is the spending that the freeze should target. The subscriptions you signed up for and forgot about. The dining out that happens by default 2 or 3 times a week, not because you particularly enjoy it, but because it's easier than cooking. The streaming services you haven't opened in 3 months. The gym membership you're paying for, but not using. The habitual upgrades. The newer phone when the current one works fine. The premium version of the app when the free version is sufficient. The brand name version of something where the generic is identical. This is spending that does not compound. It does not build anything. It does not protect anything. It simply exits your account and delivers marginal or zero value in return. Cutting this category is not sacrifice, it is optimization. And doing it deliberately and without guilt builds the cash buffer that gives you genuine resilience when you actually need it. The second category is maintenance spending. This is everything that costs significantly more if it is deferred. Car maintenance, the oil change, the tire rotation, the brake inspection, medical and dental care, the checkups, the preventive treatments, the minor issues addressed before they become major ones. Home maintenance, the roof inspection, the plumbing issue that's been dripping for 3 months, the HVAC service that keeps the system running. Professional certifications and continuing education that your employer or your field requires to stay current. The tools and equipment that your work or your business depends on. Legal and financial administration, the will that hasn't been updated. The insurance review, the tax planning that prevents a larger bill later. The freeze instinct treats all of this as optional because it is, technically, deferrable in the short term. You can skip the dentist appointment this month. Nothing will immediately break. But deferring maintenance is not avoiding cost. It is transforming a smaller, manageable, predictable cost into a larger, disruptive, often poorly timed future cost. Every dollar of maintenance spending you defer in a recession has a multiplier attached to it. The multiplier is usually somewhere between 2 and 10, depending on the category and the duration of the deferral. Maintenance spending is not optional spending that happens to look important. It is the least optional spending in your entire budget because it is the spending that prevents every other category from getting more expensive. The third category is compound spending. This is the spending that builds future earning power, future optionality, future resilience. A professional course or certification in a skill that is becoming more valuable in your field. A book. And not just any book, but the specific book that gives you a framework or knowledge that changes how you approach your work. A tool or software that meaningfully increases your productivity or output quality. A professional relationship investment. The conference, the networking event, the dinner with a mentor or a potential collaborator. A side project that costs a small amount of money to start, but has the potential to create a new income stream. Anything that, if it works, puts you in a meaningfully better position 6 or 12 or 24 months from now. This is the category that recessions make most psychologically tempting to freeze. It is also the most important category to protect, because compound spending is where the separation between people who come out of downturns ahead and people who come out behind actually originates. The people who emerge from recessions in a materially stronger position than when they went in are almost universally the people who kept investing in their future earning power during the period when everyone else went quiet. Not recklessly, not expensively, but consistently and intentionally. Warren Buffett didn't just buy assets on sale during the 2008 crisis. He also invested enormous amounts of time, which is the most valuable form of compound spending, in reading, in analysis, in deepening his understanding of the businesses he owned and the ones he might buy. The recession gave him a quieter environment with less noise and more signal. He used it. Most people use a recession to stop, to wait, to preserve. And preservation, without any compounding, is just slow erosion. The reason this framework is so important to write down, and not just think about, is that the 3 categories are not always obvious in the moment. Some decisions are clearly in one bucket. The Netflix subscription you haven't opened is obviously cuttable. The dentist appointment is obviously maintenance. But what about the professional development conference that costs $700 in registration and travel? In a freeze mindset, it's an obvious cut, discretionary, non-essential, something that can wait. In a compound spending analysis, it might be the single highest returning investment you make this year if the connections or knowledge gained translate into career advancement or new opportunities. The brain under stress will call it cuttable every time. The framework forces you to ask whether it's actually compound. What about the software subscription for your freelance work that costs $40 a month? In a freeze, it looks like a subscription, a cuttable. In a maintenance analysis, if your business depends on it, it's maintenance. The framework makes the distinction. The freeze doesn't. Right now in April 2026, the conditions for an indiscriminate freeze are almost perfectly in place. The oil shock is real, and its full effects haven't yet filtered through the economy. The recession probability numbers are the highest they've been since 2022. Consumer confidence data is the worst in 3 years. The financial headlines are genuinely alarming. And the human brain, processing all of this environmental threat signaling, is going to want to stop. across the board, indiscriminately. Some of that stopping is the right response. Identify the genuinely cuttable and cut it. Build the buffer. Reduce the exposure to variable rate debt. Do the things that genuine prudence requires, but protect the maintenance and protect the compounding. Because the recessions that genuinely set people back for years, the ones that create decade-long gaps between where someone expected to be and where they actually ended up, are rarely the ones where something catastrophic happened. They are the ones where someone stopped building for long enough that the pause became a permanent ratchet backward. The compound effect works in both directions. In the good years, it works for you silently, building value you don't notice until one day you look at the number and realize how far it's come. In the years when you freeze it, when you stop the skills development, stop the maintenance, stop the compounding, it also works silently. In the other direction, the gap between where you could have been and where you end up is not dramatic. It doesn't announce itself. It just quietly accumulates until one day the distance is too large to close easily. So here is the single most important thing you can do right now, today, before the freeze fully sets in. Write down 3 lists, not in your head. On paper or on a screen. Actually write them. List 1. Genuinely cuttable spending. Go through your accounts and find everything that delivers marginal or zero value and eliminate it without guilt. This is the freeze done right. List 2. Maintenance spending. Everything in your life that, if deferred, costs more. Commit to protecting this list regardless of what else gets cut. This is the freeze done wrong when it eliminates this category. List 3. Compound spending. The things that build your future. Identify the highest value items on this list, the ones with the most leverage on your future earning power or your future options. Protect the top 2 or 3 even if you cut the rest. These are your investment in the version of yourself that comes out of this period stronger. 3 lists. Written down. Decided from analysis, rather than from the undifferentiated fear signal the brain is currently sending about all outflows equally. The system is what separates the people who use this recession as a catalyst from the people who use it as a reason to stop. So here is where I want to hear from you. Do you think A, the freeze is actually the right call, and maximum cash preservation should be the priority regardless of what gets deferred? B, the 3-category framework makes sense in theory, but is genuinely hard to execute when money is already tight and everything feels uncertain? Or C, you have actually been through a recession before, and your biggest financial regret from that period was something you deferred that cost you far more later? Drop your answer in the comments, because I think the people who have been through this before have something genuinely important to say to the people who are navigating it for the first time right now.